Hi, welcome to my channel, Vanelandia de Todo Un Poco. In this opportunity, I had the honor to introduce you guys Mr. Elliot Marshall. He is a specialist with huge knowledge in supplement. Hi, how are you, Elliot?
Hi, it's nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
So, today, you to learn me everything about supplements. I wanted to know about curcumin. So, just tell me a little background about curcumin, please.
Well, curcumin has been used for thousands of years as something called turmeric. Turmeric is used in Indonesian, Indian, and Southeast Asian cultures as both a ingredient that can be used to make food a yellow color and as for flavoring, which it has a earthy, they say an earthy, warm flavor to it. Turmeric is just the main spice, and curcumin is the active ingredient that we isolate from the spice.
So, what is the health benefits of curcumin?
Well, curcumin has a very large list of health benefits. So we could start with that it is an anti inflammatory, it is an antioxidant, it is actually shown to have help with brain function and even have properties that are anti tumor, anti cancer.
But I heard curcumin thins the blood. Can everyone take it?
It is true that curcumin can interfere with blood thinning medications. If you're either breastfeeding or using blood thinners, I would not suggest using curcumin. And also, you can always talk to your own medical practitioner and see what's best for you and your needs. But make sure that your practitioner understands and specializes not just in your health, but in a wide variety of things, such as supplements.
Can you please, Elliot, talking about anti-inflammatory effects to the curcumin, please?
As an anti-inflammatory, I would say if someone said you have to pick any one thing, I would say curcumin is absolutely the number one go-to. It's because it has a whole host of benefits. Interestingly enough, curcumin works on the COX-1 and COX-2 receptors. If you look at how non-steroidal anti-inflammatories work, like ibuprofen, for example, it works on those same exact receptor sites. So it helps lower full body inflammation. Furthermore, if you were to take something like ibuprofen, which is bad for your kidney health, curcumin is shown that it helps with your kidney health. Also, some of its other anti-inflammatory properties show that it helps with your full body inflammation if you have arthritis or joint stiffness. And it is also shown with certain eye conditions to help, skin conditions, even people with things like psoriasis or eczema. We've shown really good things in studies. And there was a double blind placebo controlled study recently showing that even after exercise and induced muscle fatigue, it could help with recovery and with delayed onset muscle soreness.
Can you discuss how this works as an antioxidant?
Curcumin is also a very powerful antioxidant. Antioxidant means that it goes after something called ROS, reactive oxygen species, and it reduces this, therefore lowers the inflammation throughout the human body. Curcumin has shown that it can also help modulate the immune system itself, and in cases of sickness, can stop the overreactivity of the body. For example, when we had the big epidemic recently in 2020, people were having something called a cytokine storm. This is where your own body gets so reactive to the processes going on that it creates something called a cytokine storm. Curcumin says, okay, you're being a little too overreactive, modulate down so that you actually don't harm yourself. Your own immune system can get so over exaggerated, such as to a new pathogen, that it will actually modulate the immune system and say, this is too much. Lower it to here and work in this area. Therefore, your own body doesn't harm itself. Curcumin has also been proposed to be great with anti-aging. Obviously, anything that lowers inflammation and is an antioxidant, that's a given. But there's also studies that suggest it increases the telomere length. So, what is a telomere? A telomere is the end caps of your DNA. Over time, the end caps get smaller and smaller and smaller. And as this happens, your DNA can replicate less and less. And this is one of the hallmarks of aging. So, keeping your telomere length longer means younger and more fresh DNA.
You say that increase the brain function?
So it's really interesting that you asked about brain health. In certain formulations, which we could get into, you can actually have curcumin get through the blood brain barrier. But unfortunately, if you're only taking regular curcumin or a regular preparation of turmeric or curcumin, and if you take turmeric, it would be only a small portion that is curcumin, but it would not be able to reach through the blood brain barrier, which separates your body and your brain as a protective barrier. But let's say you take a specialized preparation that can do so. Well, we can find that it actually helps with brain health as much as your body, including brain derived nootropic factor. During these studies, it also talks about how it could help with Alzheimer's disease and even keeping brain cell and function health in the brain.
Right.
So, what about heart health?
For heart health, curcumin helps with the endothelium. This is like the blood vessels and the lining toward the heart. So it would actually help with your heart health and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Obviously, there are other things when it comes to heart health that we could discuss at a later time. It can reduce inflammation of the arteries and it can lower the chance of having a clot as well.
Can working with the patient with cancer?
It's quite interesting when we talk about cancer and curcumin. We would have to discuss bioavailability and finding curcumin, obviously, with all of these things across the board with high bioavailability. But when you have a great supplement of curcumin, you can actually have the curcumin create something called apoptosis. Apoptosis is created, well, have you ever heard of fasting? It's like when you're fasting and the body's healing itself, it causes bad cells to actually self destruct and die. So imagine that the cancer cells are basically being told to turn off and die. So it can be very helpful in both cancer not being created or spread. It also lowers angiogenesis, which is the creation of new blood vessel formation inside of tumors. It is most helpful with breast, bowel, stomach, and skin cancers, from what we can tell currently. And lastly, with cancer, it can also lower mTOR, mammalian target of rapamycin. And when mTOR is active, you're having all this new growth phase, while AMPK is the opposite. So it can modulate down mTOR and turn on AMPK, which, as we discussed earlier, is the equivalent of fasting and not intaking food.
So, Elliot, what is your recommendation for me, like a prescription for a woman in close to the 40 years old for curcumin?
Well, I would discuss everything with your personal doctor, but what I would say is you want to look for a preparation that is more bioavailable. As we discussed many times throughout this podcast, it has very poor bioavailability. My recommendation would be a nanoparticulated curcumin or nanocurcumin. You could also find curcumin in liposomal form as well. These will increase the bioavailability significantly, making it more like something your body barely takes in to something that your body can absorb more like a medicine and function with all these wonderful things we have just spoken about. In the nanoparticulated version, it even helps get through the blood brain barrier in studies. And that's why, when I said specifically about the blood brain barrier, the nanoparticulated formulations may be the best. Liposomal will also be great for the body, but we're not as sure about how its effects will be additioned to the brain and the brain's capacity. For the average person, they would take about 500 milligrams of either nanocurcumin or a liposomal curcumin. If it's just for daily health, one time a day, along with their vitamins and supplements, it lasts about 6 hours in its nano form. If you're using it for arthritic conditions, inflammation, like let's say your blood work comes back and says you have severe autoimmune inflammation or full body inflammation, the best way to use it would be about 500 milligrams 3 times a day. And if that's not okay with you, let's say you're a busy schedule, you're at work, it's hard to have 3 times a day. Then I would suggest going to 1,000 milligrams morning and evening. But the more you take it, the better. So 3 times a day is always going to beat out 2 times a day, in my opinion. Even 1,500 milligrams, 500, 3 times a day, I feel is more effective, in my humble opinion, than twice a day at 1,000 milligrams each. And I would range from 500 milligrams to about 2,000 milligrams per day. Obviously, I'd love for you to speak with your personal provider. Anyone listening, they should speak with their doctor. Make sure there's no counter interactions with anything else they're taking. For example, blood thinners like Coumadin or aspirin, which is over the counter but thins your blood. And also make sure that it's right for you. But for most people, this is something very easy, natural, and heals the entire body.
Um, so interesting, Mr. Elliot. So the last app is for the people watch you today.
And if someone said, this person is not feeling well and they could have one supplement across the board, just that's all they're going to take every day, I would say the best bang for your dollar is curcumin.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, guys, if you enjoy this podcast, please let me know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe it. Bye.